Hello, hello, and
Morning.
welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are.
On the opposite side of the planet, so it's morning over here in Australia, so it's not quite 8 a.m. just yet. It's 7:55 in the morning. Good
hmm
afternoon or good evening to you, Frank. How are you, mate?
I'm doing pretty well. I am excited to be back here for another attempt for Starship Flight 13.
Yeah, same here. After what happened the other day, it would be very interesting to see whether or not this one goes on time, but whether or not it goes at the beginning of the actual launch window, or whether or not there's going to be a significant delay. So we've already seen a bit of a delay this morning. They held the countdown clock, but luckily that was only for around about 5 minutes so far. So all right, so welcome to everyone who is joining us for the live stream. You've got myself, Josh Keegan, formerly known as Aussie or still known as Aussie and I am joined by my familiar co-host,
Yep,
Frank.
I am Frank. I am one of the photographers and live hosts here at Launch Heaven. And yeah, I am thrilled, absolutely thrilled to be back for another round. Hoping we get to see it fly today. I know last time there were a few hiccups, and then the attempt yesterday was actually scrubbed because there was a tropical storm in the area, which whether or not there were specific weather constraints like winds, lightning, or what have you, SpaceX actually interestingly acknowledged that the visibility was a big constraint because they are looking to get images
Of
of
course.
Starship as they want to get high resolution images of the heat shield through max Q, and it was a little bit too cloudy yesterday for them to be able to do that.
Wow. Good call by them. So right, so if you're joining us for the first time, I just need to let everyone know about the Launch Heaven memberships, just to go a little bit over to that. If you want to become a member of Launch Heaven, just remember there are three or four different levels. Intern starts at 99 cents a month, which includes loyalty badges, custom emojis, priority replies to comments, and bulk member shout outs rather. Then there's Launch Director, which is $4.99 a month, which includes same as the previous tier, and the name is displayed during webcasts and videos. And there's a Discord server access, so there's that one as well. Then there is Closeout Crew, which is $9.99 a month, same as the previous, and then you get discounted merchandise, early access to images and videos from our team, which is actually something that can be really cool. I've got one of the images sitting behind me, so which was part of the Falcon Heavy launch. So that was fantastic. I love that. What Launch Heaven is doing this, Launch Heaven itself is doing this flight is they've also got their own remote cameras deployed at the moment. There's three GoPro cameras, and Gavin R has also placed multiple remote cameras at several locations around Starbase to capture additional material and footage.
Absolutely, absolutely. We are incredibly excited to see some of the footage that's going to come out of those remote cameras. And as a reminder, if you like what we do, like and subscribe. Keep an eye out for our continuing content. Hey, we've got Isaac in the chat there. How's it going, man? I hope you are excited to see the flight today. I know I am. It's always a good day when Starship has a chance to fly.
Yeah, always. Same as always. By the way, checking all the weather and the flight radars and everything. I've got several different screens, so if I'm not looking directly at camera, I've got all the screens open. So yeah, looking at flight radar, it seems completely clear at the moment. Oh, no, it's not coming up. There it is. All right, flight radar seems particularly clear around Starbase. There is only one chopper in the area, it seems like. Just clicking on that. I think that
Yeah,
might be Coast Guard.
yep,
Yes, it is.
I believe that is a Coast Guard helicopter. The Coast Guard does fly the area to just help keep tabs on the marine and land, mostly the maritime exclusion zone. Don't want any wayward boats or wayward
No.
planes getting into those hazard areas because that would mean you have to wait for them to get out of there and hope you can hang on long enough for it for your vehicle to be able to still launch. Um, so yeah, we are expecting to see that. Another aircraft that we are expecting to see today out there is NASA's WB-57 high altitude imaging aircraft. The One of the objectives that, as we mentioned, we've heard from SpaceX is getting high resolution images of the heat shield during max Q, and the WB-57 is going to be the main platform doing that. What's up, SpaceX GT? Is Mr. Beast flying on this rocket? Probably not yet. Maybe one day. I mean,
But
you
I
know,
think once it's gone through its human ratings and qualifications, I think he might actually fly on it eventually. But yeah, it's still got a few milestones until Mr. Beast flies, I'm pretty sure.
yep, yep. Now we are currently sitting at just about 50 minutes before launch. So we should be coming right up now to SpaceX performing the go no go if I can talk poll for fueling. So
Yeah,
we
well, at
are
the moment, I'm not actually seeing any on the live feed that we've got here that we've actually crossed to right now. It doesn't seem like there is much activity going on, which doesn't bode well. However, just to let everyone know that SpaceX, because we did this a couple of days ago, SpaceX is actually really good at refueling this entire vehicle in it seems like less than 30 minutes. So at this stage, not having any gas outings or anything like that is pretty much normal.
Yeah, it is astonishing to see how quickly they are able to fuel, just, get this entire vehicle fueled up and loaded. It, I mean, this is really an enormous rocket, absolutely enormous rocket. And they are able to get it fueled in about the amount of time as a Falcon 9, which you could probably get close to putting like 6 Falcon 9s bunched up together just inside of Starship if you had no bulkheads or anything inside of it. Now we
That's
are
crazy.
Yep.
That's seriously
Now
crazy.
it's hard to comprehend the scale of this thing. Oh, and check it
Oh,
out. We've
yes.
got a Coast Guard chopper passing by, and more importantly, we have the tower vent, which means we are
Yeah, we're on.
trending toward fueling. Yeah, we are underway.
Yes. This is the sort of stuff we like to see, especially after the events, what happened the other day. So, Frank, look, I have stayed a little bit away from this. Could you possibly fill me in exactly what happened with the launch attempt that happened the other day? It seemed like they got all the way to T minus 0, and there seemed to be a problem with the ignition of all the engines. Are you able to fill us in with not exactly, but a rough estimate of what happened?
Yeah, absolutely. We did get a little bit of information. That was the first time that Starship has done a hot fire abort. The first time where they've actually managed to start the engines and had something in the red, some kind of parameter that they didn't like, and had to shut the engines down. Now we believe that the 4 engines starting is the reason that they called off that attempt. Following that, they had to destack the vehicle, and they changed, I believe, 3 engines on the booster. And this is, unfortunately, this is kind of in line with what we've seen from a number of the tests in the past. Again, thank you to SpaceX for so much transparency in those recent documentaries, because we've seen with the previous flight, both times they had to abort their static fires. They ended up having to replace engines. And, again, in this situation where they were attempting to launch and lit the engines, had to shut them down rapidly. It's unfortunate. We don't like to see it, but it is not totally shocking to see them have to replace some engines. They got those 3 engines replaced, and everything is stacked and back on the pad.
Which is the best part we all like to see is making sure that everything's stacked and back on the pad and ready for a flight configuration by the looks of it. Yeah, from
Absolutely.
all, yeah, from this it looks like it's trending towards the positive, which is always great. And there's a couple of wayward boats that seem to be going past the camera, unless of course it's cycling through the same sort of images. But anyway, that's all right.
I believe I believe that waterway there is outside of the
It
exclusion
is.
zone, outside of
Oh,
the
okay.
hazard zone. Yeah, this PTZ camera is on a very, very long lens, and so
Wow,
yeah,
that is a
these
lens and a
it's
half.
an incredibly cool camera. And so when you're in super deep like that, it kind of, compresses the whole scene. And those
Yeah.
boats will end up looking bigger and a lot closer to the pad than they are, where I believe, we look on the map, I think that is like a couple miles from the pad. So those boats are safe. It's not unusual to see them. No wayward boats at this time. And welcome. Mike loves flights. Will Messi kick the rocket to launch it? I mean, he could try. I would love to see it. You'd have
Same here.
to. I mean, he's got a good kick, but you'd have to
He does.
have a pretty unbelievable kick to be able to get an
Kick this thing
entire
off the pad.
starship up to
Yeah.
orbit. And welcome to Broly as well. Glad to have all you guys here. We
Yeah,
are
welcome, guys.
just so excited for this.
Yeah, so there's a couple of key achievements that Starship is looking to do with this super heavy booster. Is what they're looking for in this particular launch is they're looking to complete a launch, obviously, and a descent, then stage separation, and more importantly, boost back burn and landing burn at an offshore landing point. We're not sure what that is yet, or how close to the shore that will be, or whether or not we'll get any images for that. But that's one of the key things that they're looking to do. The booster already has heavy modifications to the hardware and software to address the issues that we're seeing in Starship 12. I'm not sure if they went with a rollback and a replacement of engines or swap out of engines, whether or not they did any further improvements. And then the issues with Starship 12 was there's a hot staging, which actually caused a 90-degree error in the orientation after separation. And then 5 of the 33 engines on the Super Heavy booster failed to light for the boost back burn. That was in Starship Flight 12. So not this one. This one hasn't gone yet. So yeah, the engines the other day have been swapped out, and so everything is in flight configuration, ready for this attempt today.
Yeah, absolutely. We are hoping to see a nominal liftoff. That's the first step. Good boost, and then things are staging is where it really gets interesting. Like you said, you want to stage in the right direction, and that sort of didn't happen last time. And then for those keen-eyed among us, it didn't just, it's not only that there were engines that failed to light during the boost back, but it, visually at least, it appeared that one or more of the engines failed, shall we say, energetically.
Very
it
energetically.
just it looked like it popped one of the engines, and then it appeared that when that happened, we could see on the engine diagram that a number of the other engines were then, were lost at that time. So staging in the right direction and keeping all the engines intact is going to be a big milestone for the booster. As we mentioned before, the WB-57 trying to get images of the heat shield during max Q. Got those Starlink satellites. And another interesting one is that I think you didn't touch on maybe is the in-space Raptor relight.
Yeah.
As as a reminder, that demo was they weren't able to complete that demonstration during the last flight when the single Raptor vacuum engine failed. It appeared that there may have been a bit of a propellant leak, and I think they probably opted not to do that out of an abundance of caution, but that is going to be an important milestone to cross. Is this so, Matthew? Is this South Padre Island? I cannot talk today. But yes, this is South Padre Island, and time is launch. I assume you're asking what time is launch, and we are just 42. Answer to life, the universe, and everything. 42 minutes out from launch today.
Nerd. I mean, for that from
I'm among good company.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. And like, yeah, I'm the guy who actually goes into the middle of the Australian outback and to actually capture rocket launches in the middle of nowhere, 1,388 kilometers from the nearest capital city. Yeah, I've got rocks on my head. So anyway, that's all right.
We're grateful for it. We're grateful for it.
Fine. All right. So just to let everyone know that Starlink is also, there's a version 3 of Starlink that's going to be on this Starship launch as well. They will attempt to extend the solar arrays and will attempt to connect with the wider Starlink network via high capacity lasers during this launch. So basically, those Starlinks will be on this exact same trajectory as Starship and are expected to only last 20 minutes before re-entering. So it's actually going to be in-space test to actually determine whether or not those new Starlinks will work in the fashion that they're looking for. Because Starship will be the main launch provider for those new Starlink version 3 because they're literally quite too big for it to be carried on almost anything else. Those 6 satellites will carry modifications to include cameras to scan Starship's heat shield. So that's really, really important. And hopefully we'll get some really great images from SpaceX's live feed when that goes live. Then several tiles are painted white to simulate missing tiles whilst serving as imaging targets at the same time. And in the end of Starlink version 3, SpaceX hopes to launch up to 10,000 of the new Starlink version 3 satellites to increase capacity and speed with the overall network. So, yeah, look, I'm part of me is really keen to see that happen. Yeah, just the upload and download speeds, especially for live streaming launches in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, could it actually face a little bit of an improvement? So yeah, I'm quite keen to see Starlink version 3.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, one of the big keys to the improvement is
Ooh, vent.
oh
Sorry.
yeah, yeah. Look at that. We
Sorry.
are, let's see, we are no, you're good. You're good. We are coming up to 35, 37 minutes, 39 right now. So in just about 2 minutes, we should expect to see liquid oxygen load start on the ship and the booster. Actually, they start liquid oxygen load simultaneously. And so with that big vent, what we're that we're seeing there, like you mentioned, that is liquid oxygen, I believe, getting basically just run through the propellant lines on the tower to get them nice and cold, chill them down so that they can flow liquid oxygen through them without it, heating up and starting to boil off and turn into bubbles. Because spoiler alert, you really don't want to feed rocket engines bubbles. They don't last
No.
long.
Yeah, it's all about the
uh,
cavitation, everything that happens inside the engine at that particular point when there's an oxygen bubble in there. Eek.
Yeah,
Eek.
yeah. And a quick hello to our viewers out there on TikTok, exclamation marks. Lyra, glad to have you guys here. You can't wait. I can't wait either. And pad fallback, we're hoping not. we're really hoping for the sake of the GoPros out there. We are hoping that it is not a pad fallback. We want to make sure that those GoPros come back home reasonably safe, I think. And so we can get the
Just
footage
avoid
off
the
of
whole
them.
one piece thing. As long as that SD card, that mini SD card inside them comes back in one piece. It doesn't matter about the other part, just that mini SD card so we can read it and get all the cool images
Z-
before the camera goes.
Exactly. And hello there to Catherine and exclamations. I agree. This one makes me a little nervous. You know, I don't know how much confidence you have. I'm kind of mixed. The booster does worry me a little bit. Just
Yes.
with like having engines have to be replaced and failing on the you know presumably failing because they had to be swapped on
Yeah.
the hot fire abort. I'll feel a lot better about the flight once the ship is separated from the booster, which is crazy to say. Got to take a step back here. For all of V1 and V2,
Yeah.
it was always the booster that was all reliable. It was just like it. You could throw anything at the booster and it would just somehow manage to survive. And now one flight in on the V3 booster, and it seems to be having some considerable teething issues where the ship, it aside from losing one engine, which is a pretty big aside there, it handled itself very well in space. And as far as we know from SpaceX, it actually had the best reentry of any ship to date where it didn't suffer any heat shield burn throughs.
Mm. Yeah, true. Absolutely true. And yeah, the booster has gone from being all reliable to now being a little bit less reliable in version 3. I'm not sure what that means for the for this particular launch, but let's hope that they've managed to sort all of those issues and that this booster is able to perform nominally. I hesitate to say nominally. I can't talk either. I'm going to stop. Anyway, so yeah, so it's hopefully it all works according to plan. There we go. That's better. Hopefully it works according to plan, and we can actually see the good results that SpaceX is trying to achieve in this particular launch. The only thing we can do at this point is hope that that the booster will perform in the expected fashion. That's all we can hope for, because, yeah, again, this is, rocket science, and this is hard, trying to get to orbit.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and SpaceX really wants to get up to the point of being able to return both the ship and the booster to Starbase, landing them or catching them with the towers, and being able to have a good boost back, staging in the correct way, in the correct direction, and performing that controlled sort of offshore splashdown landing is going to be the next step that allows them to start catching boosters again.
Yeah. Yeah, speaking of which, there are actually quite a few things that, it's outstanding checklist items that this needs to do, providing that 13 actually works. Look, I'm about 50% confident that, the booster will work in the design fashion. There are few checklist items that still need to be checked off, which is Starship needs to achieve a stable orbit. And then basically what happens next is there's a rendezvous and docking with the other spacecraft, which is NASA's Artemis 3 mission, which is scheduled for 2027. So I'm thinking with the delays with Starship and the booster success, that it's going to take a little bit longer because what SpaceX is expecting to do is expecting to use the stock standard version 3 equipped with a docking adapter to meet up with Artemis 3 on board an Orion spacecraft. It's also included in part of the Artemis missions is to demonstrate with Blue Origin the Blue Moon lander as part of Artemis 3. Then there's also other checklist items include transferring, maintaining cryogenic fuels for the long term for use in zero G. And then NASA is expecting Artemis 4 in 2028 to be crew capable and ready for lunar landing. So that is Starship in its configuration, whatever that looks like, or whatever the future version of that looks like. So there's quite a few things that they need to check. SpaceX needs to check off before they're able to get to those next checklist of items. One of them includes bringing the booster back and catching it.
Yeah, absolutely. And now, to those asking in chat how much is left, we have about 33 minutes left before launch. Propellant load is currently underway. Like you were saying, being able to get the ship back, get it to orbit, get it back, and get the booster back, and be able to get both in one flight. That's going to be the key to really the whole program moving forward, and is going to be a very important step for making sure that the Artemis program can progress on time as well. As you mentioned, for Artemis 3, the hope is for NASA to be able to have both a Starship and a Blue Moon lander. It is going to be a little odd because they're expecting to have a Blue Moon, an actual lunar lander, and Starship, we're sort of expecting it to not be the lunar lander configuration. From what we've seen right now, it looks like it's going to be more or less the same vehicle that we've got right here with a
Right.
docking port kind of, I think, just kind of stuck on the nose, which is
That's gonna be odd. I'm sorry, that's gonna be odd to see.
it's going to be very, very Kerbal to see this enormous starship that you could probably take if you folded in the panels, the solar panels, you could probably fit Orion just in the nose payload
Yeah, just
bay
at the end of the nose,
of
yeah.
Starship, which is it's crazy. And there are, it's a very important test because there are a lot of weird dynamics and things that can happen when you're docking a small vehicle to something that big. You want to make sure that Starship isn't going to twist or rotate or do weird things and like accidentally rip the docking port off. That would be
Oh,
bad.
but that's a live stream I wanna be a part of.
I
Really
hope
do.
that
I
doesn't
want the
happen.
I want the images and everything. I don't care if it's a failure, it's going to be spectacular either way.
O-
Because
only o- Only if that's uncrewed. We
yeah,
are expecting the docking mission to be crewed now, because they're kind of just going to be sticking a docking port on it. There isn't going to be a pressure seal. There's not going to be any sort of hatch
mm,
for astronauts to be able to board Starship. Where we are expecting the Artemis 3 astronauts to potentially board the Blue Moon lander. But regardless, that's going to be the big step that's going to let SpaceX progress to performing a lunar landing with Starship But all of that hinges on getting through the flight objectives today.
Correct. And there's quite a few of those flight objectives to actually get through today, and there's quite a significant checklist after this flight. Even if this flight is successful, there's also, as I said before, there is the return to catch the booster once more. They've already proven that with earlier versions of the booster for various versions of Starship. Then after that is also they need to actually catch Starship as well for the rapid reusability component of that as well, and that's actually returning to Starbase before they start to make any sort of plans of where else to launch from. So yeah,
Yeah,
there's quite a few technical issues they need to achieve with that. So yeah, yeah, as I said, Frank, like I keep saying I'm 50%. What are you with the success of this launch today? What do you think?
as
50%,
far
20%?
I'm I think I'm about 60-40 with the booster.
Yeah.
That being said, it's tricky. Like, do I think that it will get to staging? I think I'm more confident that it will actually make it to separation and the ship will get away okay. Um, More confident in that than I maybe 70 or 80% more than I am about the booster actually staging correctly, being able to maintain all the engines, not losing anything, not blowing anything up, and coming back to perform a perfect simulated landing over the Gulf. Um, with this ship, I'm probably closer to like 75-ish, 75, 80% confident that it will have a nominal flight. I think there are maybe still some concerns about the Raptor vacuum engines because you know, we've seen one fail in the last flight, and basically for all of version 2 and the lone version 3 flight, we do seem to see the Raptor vacuum engines kind of getting hot spots on their nozzles, which is not that's not good. That's not what you want to be seeing with a with an engine while it's running.
Mm.
However, we haven't seen an explicit failure because of that. So,
Yeah, good point. So thank you very much for clarifying that. So yeah, maybe I must say that I'm only 50-50 on the booster. Yeah, the Starship
yeah,
and all the other components. Yeah, thank you for the clarification. I do appreciate that. Yeah, with the rest of this, there's one thing I'm very confident about with SpaceX and Starship and the iterations and the booster is they learn their lessons, they fail fast and they fail forward. So whatever they learn, have been learning, from previous, even the engine mishap that they've had earlier in the week. Yeah, look, they've learnt from that, and as we've seen with the development of Falcon 9 and Falcon, and subsequently Falcon Heavy, yeah, they're able to incorporate any design changes really rapidly. So we'll see. This is the first launch of version 3 of the booster, or second launch of version 3. It's first or second, I can't remember. But yeah, it's a new version of the booster. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to learn as much about that before they determine to remember with Falcon 9. It went through multiple versions before they came down to Block 5, which is when they then they locked it down in terms of it was reliable enough for them to go through and not make any further massive design changes. Ah, and SpaceX
absolutely.
Live.
Yeah,
Ah,
SpaceX is not only live, but they are currently getting into some details about the engines.
ooh. That
And
the engine
a
from
quick,
previously?
yep. I want to say a quick thank you to KNIL and to Sakuna207 for the follow. We
Yes.
appreciate you. We're always glad to have you guys here. If you're out there on TikTok, give us a follow. If you're on YouTube, like and subscribe. It's free. um,
Yeah, and there's probably a
yes, it
good point to mention that also if you want to become a Launch Heaven member, that you can. There's the intern at 99 cents a month, launch director at 4.99 a month, closeout crew at 9.99 a month, and then range officer, which is okay. My computer's playing by itself now. It doesn't want to. There, range officer, which is 29.99 a month, and there's various levels with that. So range officer, fortunately, is not coming until next year, and hopefully by next year I'll have all my computer issues sorted out. Ugh, that was horrible to have in the middle of a live stream.
yeah, absolutely. Now we are hearing some interesting details about the
Yep.
engines actually from the live broadcast. They've mentioned that they were able to safely shut down 29 engines, which does mean that, all of the engines that were running, they were able to actually shut down safely, which I think that's a step forward, certainly, because in the previous, I'd kind of mentioned it before, in the previous aborted static fires, when they'd shut these engines down, they had caused some damage. So I would say that's a step forward. And then sounds like at least one of the reasons for the abort was they had some valves that froze,
Oh,
which, yeah, it's interesting to hear that because they have a
yeah.
lot of operating time on the Raptor 3. That being said, not as much operating time on a V3 booster in a flight configuration. Things can always be a little different. You want to test like you fly, but there's always going to be a few subtle differences. And they did mention that they actually took one of those engines and in incredibly short order, one of the engines they pulled off of the booster here, they sent it out to McGregor and got it on a test stand and have actually already fired it and got some valuable data, which
Wow.
is, I mean, you hear about SpaceX moving fast, but
That's
that's
incredible.
that's astonishing. And quick
That's
thank you
nuts.
to quick thank you to Alec Andrew Extra for the follow.
Yeah, thanks guys for the follows. Yeah, please remember to follow along, like and subscribe on YouTube, and follow along on all the other social media channels. Launch Heaven is on all of them, including TikTok, X, and YouTube, and Instagram. I found a little while ago. So yeah, if you want to reach out and like and subscribe, that way you can find out about all the extra updates that Launch Heaven is able to do, including these live streams.
Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely. We
God,
are always,
look at that though. Look at that.
yeah,
Oh.
amazing drone views coming in from SpaceX right now. You could really see the tank farm is chugging, and we have a good frost line forming on both the oxidizer, and fuel tank.
Yeah.
Um, so a quick little bit of information that SpaceX did drop on us is that the V3 booster here only has a 2 engine out launch capability. So if they lose more than 2 engines,
Really?
they yeah, according to SpaceX, if they lose more than 2 engines, they cannot it is not sure that they'd be able to successfully make it through the flight. They
Yep.
saw
Okay.
more than 2 engines have an issue, so they opted not to fly. So it sounds like what they saw was an off nominal spin response in the oxidizer turbo pumps. And so there's a possibility that there may have been some moisture inside of those engines that actually froze.
Wow.
Which, yeah, if you look back to the shuttle, that was actually one of the big turnaround constraints. Um, methane engines and RS-25, the Hydrolox engines, one of the exhaust products that you get when you burn methane or the only one you get when you burn hydrogen is water.
Yeah.
And so making sure that those engines are actually dried out is an important part of getting a vehicle turned around. If for whatever reason there's excess moisture when you try to start your engines, that water can vaporize, could damage pumps. You can also, because these engines are operating on cryogenic liquids, the liquid methane and liquid oxygen are in the ballpark of about -200 Fahrenheit for freedom units.
I'm not sure what that is
Extremely,
in Celsius.
extremely cold. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, super cold. It's like liquid nitrogen,
Yeah.
and that any kind of moisture in there on a surface can freeze and could cause your pumps to not spin correctly. So they did not light those engines, replaced 3 of them, and as we said, got one of them on a test stand.
I cannot believe they got one of those engines on a test stand and was able to get actual data from it. But yeah, look, this is look dealing with engines that are being subcooled, where the more or less the liquid oxygen and the liquid methane coming into it is more rather it's densified and it comes in more of a slurry than it actually does more than liquid. So it's highly densified, and they've perfected that technology with Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy to actually get a little bit more optimal performance out of each individual rocket, Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy when they go on launch. So you're adopting that same principle and technology that they've already
Uh,
learned and applying it to Starship. It just introduces new problems because they've got
Actually,
a lot more. Actually, yes, go on.
yeah, well, that's actually one of the interesting differences with Starship is that Starship does not use densified propellants.
It doesn't.
No, not yet.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, while it is in the plan for Starship in the future, the fact that they don't use those densified propellants is what allows Starship to be able to hold at that T minus 40-second mark, and is
ah,
why it actually has a reasonable pad duration. Because with those densified propellants, when you have liquid oxygen and kerosene cooled almost to their freezing point, like you said, they're close to a slurry. For Falcon 9, if you don't hit that exact T0 once you have a vehicle fueled, those propellants will begin to warm up and you will lose performance out of the rocket.
hmm.
Which is, yeah, that's why we don't see countdown recycles on Falcon 9 or Falcon Heavy once fueling has taken place.
Yeah, good point.
And it's why other rockets, Starship included, are actually able to get fairly late in the count. Starship has its 40-second hold point, and I can recall at least one shuttle flight that held at about T minus 30 seconds, if not even a little bit less than that. And they're able to, when they need to, just top off those tanks, just keep adding a tiny little bit of propellant to them, and still be able to lift off nominally.
All right. So just to let everyone know, what's happened here? I seem to be suffering a computer collapse. Hang on, just give me a second. There we go. All right. So just to let everyone know, on this live stream, we are crossing between a combination of SpaceX's own live stream and Launch Heaven's own cameras, which are located on the pad. So there are 3 GoPro cameras that have been deployed around the launch site to capture the unique perspectives. There's also a pan tilt zoom camera as well with a really good zoom on it that we could see the prop load going ahead. That was more from the distance camera. And then also there is other multiple remote cameras at several locations around Starbase, which is to capture those additional views. So some of this is from SpaceX, but a lot of this is also from Launch Heaven's own remote cameras.
Absolutely, absolutely. We are incredibly lucky to have some amazing cameras out there. Our live feed has looked great today. The weather seems to be great out there
The
today.
weather is really stable. It hasn't changed. It's
No, no,
looking good.
for South Texas, it's kind of shocking. I think it's like the calm after the storm. Because for those who don't know, the launch attempt yesterday was called off because a tropical storm came through the area. Tropical storm Bertha had made its way along the Texas coast, and for a number of reasons, including clear visibility, to be able to image the vehicle, to be able to get views of that heat shield during max Q, the highest aerodynamic pressure, they opted not to launch yesterday. And now, yeah, I don't know that I've ever seen a Starship launch where the weather has looked this clear and this stable and consistent. It's wild.
It is wild, considering also the wind is now trending at 13 knots, which is really super mild at the moment. It's barely a breeze. And it's looking really good. The radar is clear, the weather is clear, temperature is actually pretty decent, if not hot. Yeah, it's all looking pretty good. And more or less, having a look at flight radar. There are a couple of aircraft in the air. One of them is the US Coast Guard, but everything else is clear. So it's trending towards a favorable time for that NOTAM to come into effect, or it's already been in effect, sorry, where that airspace is now completely clear.
Absolutely. And all signs are pointing to an on time liftoff in just a little over 16 minutes.
Yeah.
This countdown this is really flying by. It always kind of feels like it does.
Yeah, it does.
Now, as noting, we have crossed over, because it's only 16 minutes now, we have crossed over the T minus 20-minute mark. At T minus 20 minutes, the booster is well underway loading propellant. I think there might be a little timeline detail that SpaceX needs to update a little bit, because clearly the booster is not fully fueled.
No.
Um, but at about T minus 21 minutes, the engine chill down should have started. So they are flowing just a tiny little bit of cryogenic propellant through those 33 Raptor engines to get them all nice and cool and ready to fly. And thank you for the 10 roses, Andrew. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. All right, and so just to let everyone know, this is one of the remote cameras that are being placed out at site from Launch Heaven. So yes, this is very unique views of the of Starbase and Starship um, from South Texas, and this is Launch Heaven's own unique view. This is not provided by SpaceX. All right.
Yep, that's right. We are very lucky to be able to have a live camera out there bringing us these views as we watch those frost lines continue to rise and the countdown tick down toward that T0. And as you mentioned before, we've got Gavin out there as well as a few other photographers. And we have those GoPros out on the launch pad. If any of you saw oh, hello.
Oh, hello.
As a quick aside, we have some great footage here of SpaceX
Ah,
loading
that's
the Pez
Starlink
dispenser.
version 3. Yeah, version 3 they've had to do because of the way it's like a Pez dispenser, for lack of better terminology. And what it does is it actually shoots all of them out the slot in the side. What is unique about that particular footage you were seeing there before was they had to develop a unique way of loading that Pez dispenser by creating something that looks like another Pez dispenser on the outside to actually load all those Starlink satellites.
Yeah, in some ways, it almost reminds me a little bit of the shuttle's rotating service structure.
Yeah, it does a bit.
Yeah, for those shuttle heads out there, they were able to do service on the shuttle's payload bay on the pad, and so there was this big, kind of almost like a clean room that could be swung into place, and it would cover the whole back of the shuttle, potentially allowing access to the payload bay in a clean environment. And yeah, it is kind of oddly reminiscent. It's not the first time I've said it, but it seems like as Starship goes on, there are more and more things that are like they're not directly shuttle. They're not, they're not like a one-to-one. It's not obviously it's not a copy of the
Let's
shuttle.
face it. Let's face it. The shuttle actually was the shuttle and the Apollo programs and everything like that was actually the key leaders for these types of technologies being developed. So yeah, and that's the thing is if you with a space shuttle and even with SpaceX and all that sort of stuff, you why change something if it doesn't need to be changed and works from that era? And that's what they're employing here is that if it works, why change it?
Yeah, and it's not uncommon to see vehicles might not be the same, but they can rhyme sometimes, a
Yeah,
large
correct.
vehicle, heat shields, heat shield tiles, all those sort of things. Obviously the shuttle is not an inline vehicle, although there were some very strange concepts that they explored at one point.
Didn't they? Didn't they? What?
Yeah, there were early concepts of a shuttle that would be inline and would actually sit on top of a Saturn V first stage.
Oh, I saw those. Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
there were some real strange concepts back then.
Oh, well, but yeah, growing up in that age, it was every other week there was something new that someone was proposing. The best one I remember was this unfortunately dates me. That I remember that the commercial space launch. This was back before any. It was just a proposal. No one knew how it would work, but they were talking about commercial space launches, and I saw a graphic of the space shuttle that had McDonald's symbol on it,
Mm,
or, or Burger King, or Coca Cola, and it was really wild to see, more or less a government vehicle that was suddenly covered in commercial advertising on the outside, which is a bit weird. But however, Roscosmos seems to have done the same thing because the recent launch of their rocket seemed to have a sponsor advertising on the side of it. So um, it's possible.
that's right. Yeah, and it's not the first time they've done that. Actually, there is for those that who like the deep cuts of space history. Shortly after the fall of the Soviet Union, there was a sort of famous launch of I believe, a Proton M rocket
Yes, that's right.
from Baikonur that had a Pizza Hut advertisement very
That's right.
prominently
Oh my god.
displayed on the on the outside of it. which was one of those interesting things that the early Roscosmos did to help generate funding and help keep their space program alive in the wake of the fall of the Soviet Union. Now,
Yeah.
I want to say a quick hello to Andreas. Glad to see you again. Hello from Florida. Always glad to have you here. Thank you to BR Cray and Freedom for the follow. And Romilam, thank you for sharing the live stream. That name is a tricky
It's a tongue
one.
twister. From the two guys who were actually struggling today with words, like simple words.
Yep.
Thanks for the complex username. All right, sorry about that. So it looks like we're getting towards the 10-minute mark, and it looks like fueling is almost complete. We got everything lining up well. There's a frost line appearing where the fuel levels are, which is very clear to see. And it looks like that the SpaceX is coming more towards that actual critical 10-minute mark.
Yeah, absolutely. We are ticking right down. We are, for the next few minutes, going to see those frost lines continue. And at about T-2 minutes, very similar to Falcon, we should see some more venting from that tower as propellant load on the ship starts to wrap up. Now, base 1 binary name, or base 2 binary name, thank you for stopping by. Are there any payloads on board? Yes.
Yes, there are. Starlink version 3 is going to be on board, and there's around about 20 of those. And what they're going to do is they're going to test them for the entire 20 minutes that Starship, it follows the same trajectory as Starship, and they're going to put them out. Some of them will have cameras on them. Some of them will have high capacity lasers to actually link into the Starlink network to determine whether or not they'll work, because the intent is, with Starship being successful, that SpaceX will launch up to 10,000 of those Starlink version 3 into orbit eventually. So there's going to be some interesting tests that are going to be conducted. But the main point of part of that is they also have cameras on them as well. So we should get some good live stream images from SpaceX, and because what they need the cameras for is to actually inspect the heat shield on the way out, and there are a couple of white tiles on that to actually act as camera trackers. So yeah, there's going to be quite a few unique things happening. But as for people, they're not human rated yet. Sorry, guys.
Yep. No, absolutely. And we can see right here that propellant load is getting very close to wrapping up on the ship.
Yeah.
Over almost, we've got over 95% on both fuel and oxidizer. So they are going to just be topping off those tanks. And the booster is hanging out at about, just crossed over to 81% right now. Yeah, like you said, we've got the last time we had the Dodger Dogs, the hot links, that had those incredibly bright lights. I remember we thought it was the sun. It turned out they were just crazy spotlights on those satellites. And so we are
powerful. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, I know. It was truly baffling. And so we are expecting to see something similar, hopefully, possibly even more cameras this time. I think one of the objectives, if SpaceX can do it, if they can get a full, 360-degree image. I don't have my little Starship over here, but if they can get a full 360-degree image, in theory, they can do a little bit of photogrammetry and could get a full 3D render of Starship in orbit as it cruises through space. A huge Pez dispenser. Yes, that's right. 101000110. And when is it? We are 7 minutes and 15 seconds. 7 minutes and 15 seconds from launch. And Joe for Life, thank you for the hat and mustache.
Oh, nice. Oh, lovely. Yep, launches in 7 minutes, quite correct. Just come up to the 7-minute mark. I believe that the fueling is almost complete. So look, we're looking for those critical markers now, which is to make sure that SpaceX actually has confidence that this is going to go. Keep in mind that they can hold at T-minus 40 seconds, which they've done in the past, and can hold the launch at that point. Or should anything go wrong, they can also hold launch at T-minus 0. So, which was what happened earlier in the week.
Yep, and now we have certainly shall we say, we've experienced the T minus 40-second hold point on
Before, yep.
the first attempt for flight 12. If you were there for it, you might remember the hold, unhold, hold, unhold, hold, unhold that we were treated to. One of the really memorable moments in the Starship program. And I think one of the cool things about that is we then got a behind the scenes look, and in the most recent Critical Path documentary, SpaceX shed some light on that they were having
Yep.
a hydraulic pin that attaches the quick disconnect, the umbilical, to the ship was not actually being retracted. And when they were releasing that hold, automatically the next thing that was supposed to happen was that pin should pull out. It wasn't working, and eventually they called the attempt for the day, got it fixed overnight, and made their flight successful. Well, made their successful flight the next day.
Yes.
Um, Really, I love these kind of looks behind the scenes that we get, because
Yeah.
you see the countdowns. We can observe a lot of things like the four engines not starting, and then okay, well, what does that mean? Why did that happen? What comes next? So SpaceX's recent, kind of bump up in transparency has been just fantastic.
Yeah, huge props to SpaceX for that. We're reaching the critical 5-minute mark. We've just passed that threshold, so everything's looking positive for launch at this stage, I would say. And it looks like that actually could be go for an on-time launch, even though there was that slight delay at the beginning of about 5 minutes, with the SpaceX actually paused the countdown clock.
Yeah,
Flight radar is looking very clear at this particular point in time. There is nothing in the local area. Weather is still holding, and those images are just gorgeous. It's absolutely awesome to see. I really hope they manage to cross to that during the launch. That's SpaceX has a drone flying around in the local area, which they're permitted to do.
Now, I've just heard in the back channel that there is a little change to the countdown procedure
Yep.
for the V3 that I didn't know about. That, yeah, the 40-second hold that we've gotten so used to is now actually a T minus 1 minute hold point.
Oh, okay.
Um, so yeah, as we get down to the business end of the countdown here,
Yeah, gotcha.
we're hoping it doesn't happen, but it is always possible that they may hit the 1 minute mark and hold there for a little bit just to make sure that the vehicle's ready to go. And as a reminder, if that does happen, um, I believe they have something in the range of 15 to 20 minutes that they can hold at that 1 minute point and still be able to release the countdown and successfully fly. Now, thank you for the follow, Storm. Glad to have you. Art with Corey, thank you for the follow. And Four, thank you for sharing the live stream. And Four, indeed, we are less than 4 from launch.
Yeah, correct. Less than 4. We've got lots of people actually sharing the live stream, so I appreciate you guys for doing that. Again, just remember to like and subscribe, all that sort of stuff on YouTube, and do what you need to do on TikTok, Twitter, and X, and and Instagram.
I still call
Sorry.
it Twitter too.
I still call it Twitter. I'm sorry. Old habits die hard. I'm sorry. Looks like there
We
might be no
are,
scrub today. Hopefully, just keep in
yep.
mind, as Frank was alluding to there before, that there could be the hold at 1 minute, and they have around about 15 to 20 minutes to hold to make sure they do the final checks with Starship and the booster to make sure everything's in the flight configuration. So we could be paused for a little while, but so far nothing is telling us at the moment that there is anything different apart from the fact that we're about to cross the 2-minute barrier.
Absolutely. And we are coming up on the 2 minute mark. We should just now, in just a moment or two, see a little bit more venting as propellant load for the ship should be wrapping up. And I'm just hearing in the back channel that the range is green. So no
Ah,
wayward boats, no wayward planes. Everything is looking good for a liftoff in less than 2 minutes.
For those people making the comments, yes, look, I probably should have brought some jelly babies as well. Yeah, it probably would have been nice to snack on those. Oh, look at the image.
I
Oh,
know. Amazing view of the 33 Raptor engines here. And oh, wait, look at
Kimberly.
that. we've got a gimbal checkout, very similar to the shuttle. Just before liftoff here, they will run those engines through their gimbal range just to make sure that they are steering correctly. And we are hearing right now that they are currently tracking no watch items and no holds.
Wow,
So
here we go.
we should hopefully be progressing through that 1 minute mark in just a few seconds.
Oh, we're through. Sorry, I was holding my breath.
Yeah. No, we are currently through. We are at T-minus 50 seconds and counting. Now, once we get to about T-minus 30 seconds, we are going to be quiet and we are going to let you guys just enjoy the sights and the sounds of this flight up through about max Q. So, with that, I think we are going to hand it off to our amazing live views. We'll see you guys on the other side.
So huge.
Engines.
Yes! Yes! It's off!
There we go.
Here we go. She's up.
Wow.
Ah,
man,
yes.
look at that.
Oh,
All engines running.
yes. Yep, all graphic says all engines running. That's complete. Looking so far successful.
Beautiful.
Oh, straight past
Just
the drone.
beautiful.
Straight past a drone that was flying a little away from it.
Phenomenal.
Oh, wow.
Beautiful program.
That's
30
very
seconds
controlled.
into
Very beautiful.
Flight, 33 out of 33
Looks great.
Raptor engines lit on the super heavy booster arcing away from us here at Starbase.
Oh.
V3 really leaps off the pad.
It does, doesn't it? And this is a massive
Crazy.
rocket. All right, we got to come.
Coming up
Staging.
on max
Back in
Q,
a sec.
maximum aerodynamic pressure.
So we'll get max
which
Q and
again,
then we'll
for
be
this
back
flight
on,
is going to be higher than it has been
on
on any
commentary.
of our previous Starship flights.
We're not off commentary.
Oh, well.
So we're passing
So everyone heard us
maximum
yakking away.
aerodynamic pressure
Sorry,
over
guys.
a minute now into flight.
No worries. Either way,
Still seeing 33
an absolutely
out of
stunning
30
liftoff. The
Raptor.
Starship has crossed through max Q, getting some unbelievable images as that exhaust plume expands out, and we are getting, it looks like a phenomenal contrail. How cool is that to actually see
I know,
that
right?
sort of max Q contrail from the top down?
Yeah, but look at the you can see Starbase back there with the initial launch cloud still there.
Yeah, you can see that
That's
big
insane.
plume of steam and dust out there from liftoff. You can see
And
actually see a shadow on the Gulf there from that. I think that's from the contrail, actually.
Yeah, that is the contrail. That is the shadow from the contrail.
So now in just about
Wow.
20 seconds, we are going to see those 33. Well, most engines cut off. Not all 33. We're going to see, I believe, all but 3 of those engines. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, we've got separation views.
Wow.
Oh, this is the engines underneath the Starship.
That is unbelievable.
Or is that the
We've never seen this view before.
No.
SpaceX did say that they have added a bunch more cameras. We have most engines shut down.
Is that that's the booster? The cutoff?
And
there we go, staging.
hot staging, and all
inside.
engines are running on the booster for a boost back. All engines running.
Wow.
It looks like we are getting a good boost back. They've now shut down that outer ring as expected.
Yep.
The booster
Starship
appears
is
to
alive.
be... Wow. This is just incredible. The ship is now down to 3 engines, and it appears we are on track for a nominal simulated landing over the Gulf.
Cutoff.
Yep. And the ship has all 6 engines running happy and normal. This is incredible. Flawless so far.
That is incredible. So separation must have already happened. We missed it.
Yeah.
What happened?
We got distracted by that view inside,
We did.
in between the booster engines, because we've never seen that before. That was one of the things we mentioned in the Flight 12 stream was SpaceX added something like 60 or more new cameras to the vehicle between the ship and the booster. And boy, oh boy, are we seeing some of these new cameras. Absolutely stunning.
Gorgeous.
Absolutely
Gorgeous.
stunning.
All
Wow,
these live
wow.
stream images are actually being brought to you by SpaceX through Starlink, believe it or not, the current Starlink network. So this is amazing. Holy. And
Absolutely.
we're still getting a lot of data that's coming through from the booster. So I'm assuming because
Yep.
of the data coming through and they haven't cut it off yet, that the booster is actually flying nominally. Where the previous launch on Flight 12, the booster was after separation was cut off quite quickly because they had started to lose it.
I think that's a sign that the booster is probably staged in the correct orientation.
Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. That's the booster coming back. On the right-hand side, that's
we
the
have a
booster coming
live
back into
view
the Gulf.
looking down the booster on that right-hand side as it comes back. This is absolutely
I'm not coping.
stunning. Wow.
Oh, there's that visible line you saw before on the right-hand image. That is the shadow from the contrail of Starship and booster going up from launch. Wow.
Now, Freedom,
performing
is
nominally.
the booster going to land back? Yes, it is. Well, not at Starbase,
No,
but the booster is on track. It's getting very close to shore here.
it is.
It looks like it's probably not going to be terribly far off the coast. We are hoping that maybe SpaceX's tracking assets will be able to get some other views, but I'm not going to complain about getting to see it on board.
No. And yes, and in the comments, yes, the debris that was coming off, yes, is nothing more than ice. So that builds up on the outside of the booster and accumulates. And so when it goes back through the return trajectory, a lot of that and through shutdown and startup, that will actually just be shaken off.
Look at the top of the ship there. That is ship has gotten pretty toasty here during hot staging.
Yeah.
My goodness. Now we are watching the data and we should be seeing, this is, we are going to be seeing a simulated landing and then a splashdown. So
yes,
they're not actually going,
splashdown.
Yep, they're not going for the actual booster catch this time. It is going to be eventually a splashdown and a Viking funeral. And we have a view live from the booster as it is coming down into the thicker atmosphere. We are hoping to see those engines start up for landing burn in just a moment.
4K's out. And the engine's lighting. Oh, not all successful.
We have some engines.
Some engines, it's off track.
We definitely have some engines that lit for landing. And it is about to hit the water at a pretty good speed.
Yep.
Kaboom. Okay. Welcome home, booster. Thank you for your service. That looked, up until the last moments there, that looked like a very good return.
Yeah, it was tracking very nominally, and it was tracking very, very well. The last light of those engines wasn't complete, so the last stage was a little bit uncontrolled. So I think it hit a lot harder than what the soft splashdown that they were hoping for. So yes, we'll find out in the next few days exactly what happened with the booster from SpaceX, if not during this live stream. But it looks like Starship is tracking nominally. It's now at 20,000 kilometers in orbit. 21,000 kilometers per hour, and it's now tracking at 155 kilometers straight up.
Absolutely. We should be seeing SECO in just a little bit. Just a few minutes, we should see those ship engines cut off. SpaceX has acknowledged that they were hoping to see all 13 center engines start up for the landing burn.
Yeah.
They didn't, and it did come in a little bit hotter than they were intending, but I don't know if we could call it a RUD, a rapid unscheduled disassembly.
No.
The booster was going to make
a little harder than normal.
A little. Yes, exactly. It was gonna splash down and be destroyed on landing. Either way, it just happened a little faster, and we have SECO.
Yes.
Look at that.
Oh,
beautiful.
Oh, these are the gorgeous views to make this all worthwhile. Wow.
Yeah. Amazing. And they kept all 6 nominal, and we have the call out nominal orbit achieved.
Oh,
That is a perfect
that's a
boost
good
to
win.
its suborbital trajectory for the ship. This is, yeah. Even with the landing being a little spicier than intended, I would still call that a pretty big step forward.
Yeah, that was a massive step forward, especially since from Starship 12 when the
Wow.
booster just started to 90-degree out of orbit. Sorry, out of alignment. So yeah, that was complete belly flop that went back into the Gulf. This was much more controlled. The engines were in the right attitude. It's just that they failed to light on time, and it went back a little bit harder than what was intended. Because we have seen Starship boosters come back and be caught. So yeah, we do know it is possible. It's just there's a few issues with this new booster configuration that they currently got at the moment.
Yep, and again, as you mentioned, on the previous attempt, they had engines fail energetically during the staging. Now they made it all the way to lighting the engines for the landing burn, continuing to make progress as we get these just incredible views from the forward flap camera on Starship. We actually saw the flaps kind of do a little check out there as the camera got rotated around, and just absolutely amazing.
So
Um,
just a quick question: those closest towards the camera there, that protuberance, the thing that's poking out from the side of it, is that where they're going to intend to catch Starship?
I
Does that look
believe
like?
so. I believe that is the catch point for the ship. So yeah, on the right-hand side of the screen there, that little bump in the heat shield where it goes from tiles to black matte colored panels,
Yep,
that when it comes back for a landing, that is where the ship will be kind of caught by those chopsticks. And another
that's
thing
going to
to
be something to
notice
see.
Yeah, another thing to notice is if you see S40 there, a little bit above that, there's kind of a cutout, and that is the payload bay door. That's the door to the Pez dispenser, and that kind of lump next to it is one of 4 docking ports for propellant transfer.
So yeah, these starships have actually been configured for what SpaceX has planned next, and it's already been built into these versions. So as you can see, they're ready, more than ready to go once they actually start to get more success with, I believe, with the booster. So, but despite all of that, they're still able to proceed regardless of what happens with the booster because the booster has put Starship in a nominal orbit. Let's keep that in mind. So one of the next events that will happen is they'll launch Starlink version 3, and that will come out of the slot or the Pez dispenser that Frank had mentioned earlier. That slot you can see there on the side, just above the lettering of S40. And
Yes,
with that, there are about 20 of those. And yes, they will be linking up to the existing Starlink network to actually test the capacity of those new satellites, satellite version 3.
Yep, and we are expecting to see that deployment sequence start in just about 5 minutes from now at
5 minutes?
16 minutes and 40 seconds. And is it still venting? Yes, you can see that there is still some venting coming from the ship. Some of that is venting, and some of it is actually the reaction control system. Starship has kind of done a very clever thing where, because their propellants are constantly boiling off in the ship, instead of just, you know, dumping that propellant overboard because you don't want to overpressurize your tanks as it boils off and the gas expands, they are able to take that excess gas, vent it out of these little nozzles you see all over the ship, and that is able to provide attitude control. So those are actually the reaction control thrusters, because we do see the ship changing its attitude as it gets ready to cross over into orbital night and prepare for that landing. Now, CC, will it come back soon? It will come back pretty soon. We are expecting to see the ship re-enter the atmosphere at about 45 or 50 minutes into flight. So, in about a half hour, it is going to hit the atmosphere. And at just over T plus 1 hour, so about 45 minutes from now, it is going to make a landing over the Indian Ocean.
Yeah, and by that stage, it'll actually be much closer to me than you guys, because the
Yeah,
Indian Ocean will be off the coast of Western Australia, which is very close to Australia where I am. But however, just give you guys an idea, it's at least 5.5 or 7,500 kilometers across the continent of Australia to actually hit me. So I think I'll be all right.
yeah. Hoping it stays that nice safe distance away away from you there.
Well, it's
It
at
is
least five and a half
amazing.
thousand kilometers away from the coast anyway, so it's quite a substantial way out. There will be drones out there to capture the Starship landing, and there are also a couple of buoys as well that have Starlinks on them as well as cameras. So we should get some spectacular images from SpaceX as Starship comes back in to make its soft landing on the Indian Ocean.
Absolutely. Those buoys have been those things have really, really delivered with the views.
We really
I
have.
can't I think everyone has kind of talked about the and again back to the Critical Path documentary, that one buoy getting kind of almost torpedoed by a flying COPV. But yeah, those buoys, and they have a good number of drones that'll be out there. So we should get some amazing landing views. Anti-Cornet, will it land safely or crash? We are certainly hoping for a safe landing. That being said, a safe landing does involve a little bit of a crash. The ship, when it lands, is basically going to perform a simulated catch where it'll come down, it'll land, it should do the maneuver as if it was being caught by a big invisible pair of chopsticks. And then once it lands down in the ocean, it'll tip over and it should explode. And that tip over and explosion are completely expected. That would be completely normal.
Yeah, just remember that when Starship comes back in through the atmosphere, it actually is completing what Elon has termed as a belly flop maneuver. So it'll actually have its it's the heat shield pointing towards the atmosphere and the correct angle of attack. But when it comes through the final parts of the atmosphere and it clears that, then it actually performs the final belly flop into the ocean, which is coming down with its belly over and then straight down into the ocean. It's just before it gets to that point, it does the kick and puts the engines points towards the ocean for that soft ocean landing. And then once that happens, it falls over and explodes, which is always fun to see.
Oh yeah. No matter what happens, it always provides an amazing view. And speaking of amazing views, check out those beautiful golden
Oh,
colors as Starship goes through orbital sunset. It's always an amazing show. Orbital sunset is just beautiful. And if you look, I believe the payload bay door is open. Thank you,
yes.
Hal.
Yes, it has.
And so we'll be expecting to see that deployment sequence for the 20 V3 Starlink satellites beginning in just a few seconds. Hoping we get a few interior views as well, but regardless, it is super, super
With
cool to
60 new
see.
cameras, I'm hoping for an internal view.
Yeah, I think they showed one earlier on the pad, although that could have been pre-recorded. I couldn't
Yeah, true.
tell at the time. We have seen those views from inside the payload bay on the previous flight, actually. So here's to hoping we'll get some views from those cameras on the Starlinks in real time. We did last time, and again, these Starlink satellites. Oh, and there we go.
Ah, perfect. Oh,
Deployment
here we go.
sequence has started.
First one being shuffled out.
That is the first operational. That's the first Starlink V3 satellite ever to be deployed right there.
Wow.
And can just
And there it goes.
barely see it. Yeah,
Yep.
can just barely see it crawling out of the payload bay, out of the Pez dispenser.
Just waiting to see the next one come out. And
Yeah,
just wondering
absolutely.
which ones are actually which ones have the cameras and which ones don't. So I'm assuming that they'll push out the first dummy ones to begin with, which more or less are in the correct configuration. Just missing one or two vital components because the various components are expensive. But the others that get shuffled out, yes, there are some that have cameras on them and it will have high capacity lasers to link into the existing Starlink network. But they will only remain in space for around about 20 minutes, because they remember and keep in mind they are on the same orbit, this on the same trajectory as Starship.
Yep, that's right. They will, just as Starship will, they will hit the atmosphere at 26,000 kilometers an hour. Those Starlink satellites do not have heat shields, and because there are so many of these up in orbit, one of the design features of Starlink satellites is a high degree of demisability, which is a great word that I love. And that basically means when your satellite burns up and it hits the orbit, hits the atmosphere, how much of it will actually burn up? Will there be big pieces that could be, potentially a risk to the ground where you maybe need to re-enter it
Us?
over? Yeah.
You keep
Well,
dropping shit on us.
hey, Skylab was a long time ago, and it only
I
hit a
know,
rabbit.
I
We did you a favor.
we issued you a fine. It was like $100, whatever it was.
But yes, these Starlink satellites are designed to almost completely burn up in reentry, so they don't pose a risk to anyone on the ground. Almost completely the opposite of Starship, which has that considerable heat shield. So while we get those amazing, amazing views of reentry from Starship, we will know that those Starlink satellites are meeting a Viking funeral, if you will.
Oh, more spectacular than I think the booster, because they're at least they're going to streak across the sky for a little while longer and maybe salute at the same time. So,
Yeah,
especially
absolutely,
for the people who are at the landing position, who will actually get to see the Starship as it burns back in. I'm sure they'll get a spectacular fire entry of all of those Starlinks coming back in.
Yeah, on the off chance there's anyone out there watching in Madagascar or on a ship out in the Indian Ocean, look up in about 20 minutes. You should get an absolutely unbelievable show. And I think thanks to Starlink, we here at the desk and on the stream and all of you out there in chat are going to get an incredible view as well. Those entry views of Starship never get old.
Yeah, they never fail to disappoint. I mean, you actually to see the heating that goes on, the significant amount of heating that the whole ship has to put up with on re-entry is just spectacular. It makes for some really good re-entry footage, and it's amazing that this all can just be brought to you by Starlink.
Yeah, absolutely. Just as someone who's into this stuff, seeing the shock waves and the different stagnation, seeing just all of that structure is so cool. Now we do see payload deployment continuing. I have totally lost count as far as where we are.
Same here.
My expectation would be that the last couple Starlink satellites are going to be the ones with cameras and lights. So we would know either we'll see an interior view where the deployment mechanism will be more or less empty, or we'll see the outside of the ship here suddenly be illuminated by some shockingly bright spotlights, and maybe even get a live view from the from on board those Starlink satellites. This payload deployment's happening a lot quicker than the
yeah, it is. That is significantly quicker than we've seen in previous launches.
Yeah, I mean, I know one of the key points of Flight 12 was this improved, and there goes another one, this improved deployment mechanism that was going to operate faster and smoother. I'll have to go back and watch Flight 12, but this feels even faster than the deployment sequence in Flight 12 was. It's very impressive to see how quickly they've been able to make improvements and just how well this works.
All right. So while there's Flight Radar 24, and I've used that previously to check the NOTAMs and all that sort of stuff in the local area, I'm now checking the Indian Ocean using marine traffic to see if I can spot the spot the ship that's out there floating around waiting for Starship to come back in. Let me just see. So there's quite a actual on the actual Indian Ocean, right above where Starlink will be re-entering, is quite a number of ships. I guess they're out doing catching fish or whatever they need to do, or transporting oil. So there is quite a significant amount of shipping in that area who will actually get those very spectacular views of Starship re-entering, as well as all the Starlinks coming back into back through the atmosphere. that will be something spectacular. I wish someone out there would actually send me some footage.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. If there is anyone out there who does get live views of this, tag us on social media, X, Instagram, TikTok, wherever you go for your social media. Post it and give us a tag. We would love to see any views of this launch and any views of the entry that you
Yeah,
guys out there might get.
that would be spectacular. I'd love to see that.
And thank you, E, for sharing the stream, and thank you, Lamimi, for the following. Yeah, we're doing our best to keep up with the chat here, but it's like there's so much happening. This flight
Yeah,
has
it
just
is.
been
But
this
I
has
will
been
note,
such an amazing flight so
I
far.
will note 101010, all that. Yeah, catching or what fish or whatever. Yeah, that's true. There is a passenger vessel out there, believe it or not. I've just spotted on marine traffic, so there are leisure craft out there. Not sure what they're doing, but that forms the whatever.
Well, you know, to some of us, going out on the ocean and watching a spacecraft burn up in reentry or not burn up, depending on which spacecraft you're looking at, could be a form of leisure. I think I would enjoy it.
Oh, I would. I don't. It's just
Yeah.
it's just a 2 or 3 day journey out there. That's going to be the bit that's going to suck.
Yeah, that is definitely a hopefully you don't get seasick.
No, not so far. But yes, I'd love to do something like that. All right, so Starlink is coming out. They're still shuffling them all out. There doesn't seem to be any other images at the moment they're coming in. So I'm just assuming that they're trying to position all those Starlink satellites because remember, and keep in mind that some of those Starlink satellites have cameras on them to do some photogrammetry of the heat shield. So to actually check and inspect it just after launch.
Absolutely. Now we are hoping to see those spotlights light up the ship sometime in the next few minutes. We haven't seen any more of those interior views, those views from inside the payload bay, so we are not sure just where it is right now in payload deploy. Sounds like they are close to the end of the deployment sequence. Okay, so we're hearing from SpaceX that there are just 2 more satellites to deploy. We would expect that those are going to be the ones with the lights and the cameras. So,
Well, hopefully.
yeah, hopefully we get lights, cameras, action in a few minutes.
That's a weird thing to say on a rocket, a rocket launch, but here we are.
Oh, yeah, but hey, more rocket cameras, more better. We always love to see all of these new views, all the new cameras on the V3 ship and booster have been more than delivering. Oh, and
lights are on.
Right on cue. We've got lights, and let's see those last 2 deploy. And if we're lucky, maybe even get a live view from onboard Starlink satellites looking back at the ship.
That would be fantastic.
On the broadcast, they're calling the lights on the they're calling them flashlights. That's that's one word for it. If I had a flashlight that bright, they could probably see it from the ISS.
I wonder if they've been on Alibaba or AliExpress to get these lights from China. Sorry.
Who knows? Wherever they're getting them from. I don't know. Maybe if you're on YouTube, maybe they contacted Styropyro for some kind of
Hacksmith Industries. They could be theirs as well. Yeah, they built a massive one. Only lasts for about 5 minutes. What more?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, they don't need to last for too long. Getting more lights, and there we go with those last satellites,
which are already powered up and have the lights on.
I don't know if that's the lights or if that's just the other spotlights reflecting off the corners.
Okay, good point.
Those lights are so bright.
Wow.
I think that previous one did have its lights on because this one
think it did.
Isn't as bright. Absolutely amazing. And that, I believe, wraps up the payload deployment sequence. So that should be all 20 Starlink V3 satellites successfully deployed.
Oh, it's a weird thing to see a something in space just lit up like that. It's like Star Trek.
In the dark of space, having something be that brightly lit is like totally crazy to see. Oh, and another one just turned the lights on. My goodness.
Wow.
That is
Yeah, they have been talking to Hacksmith
incredible.
Industries. I'm pretty sure of it. That is nuts.
Wow. I would love to learn a little bit about what kind of lights they're using and just the power systems required
Yeah.
to actually keep those lights running. That's crazy.
That is crazy, crazy bright.
And we are hoping maybe if we're lucky to get a live view from onboard those Starlink satellites. Now, the next major event that we are going to expect to see is going to be at about T plus 38 minutes. So in just 10 minutes, we are hoping to see that in-space Raptor engine relight demo. As a reminder, that was, hello, look at the right hand of screen. I believe
Oh,
those
Oh.
are, I can't tell,
whoa.
I think those are fishing ships. If I am not mistaken, I believe those are fishing vessels down there.
Really?
Yeah, there are certain types of fishing, like certain
No. I know trawlers and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, I
yeah,
get that.
yeah.
I get that.
Just amazing view.
But it's being picked up.
Yeah. I mean, they've got some amazing cameras on board this vessel. Yeah, the camera upgrades they've made to Starship are almost as impressive as the like overall engineering upgrades to the whole vehicle for its survivability.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything is just
That's
unbelievable.
nuts. They've really
Wow.
amped that up.
Yeah.
But again, those flashlights, that's brighter than normal. It's brighter than you can get at Walmart or at Target or anything like that. That is some serious. They're not the satellites that have come out, are they? They're not Starlink in close proximity, are they? Those lights?
Oh wow. Huh.
There's Starlinks you can see in the background. We've just heard from the back channel. Holy
Wow.
moly!
Wow. Yeah, this is just unbelievable.
Okay,
I'm
now I like living
almost
in the
a
21st
loss.
century. This is cool. This is so
Wow.
cool.
Yeah, we are hoping to see. Still hoping to maybe get lucky and get one of those live views from the Starlink satellites. I know we did last time. I keep saying it on the hope
Yeah, you
that
do.
like
Come on,
that they'll
Cross.
just like cut to it when I'm saying it. 'Cause we'll see if they do. If unfortunately they don't, we will get those images post launch.
Yeah, we will.
Man, I'd love to see it right now. I'd
Oh,
love
who
to see
wouldn't?
it right now though.
But again, let me just point out the fact that this entire ship is lit up from the Starlink satellites that are floating away from it. That is crazy. How
Yeah,
bright that is.
it's
That's on the
hard to
opposite side of the
comprehend.
world, and it's on the opposite side of the world on the night side, and it's that bright.
Yep. Yeah. Now looking at the orientation meter, it does look like Starship has changed its orientation just a little
Yep.
bit from that payload deploy, getting ready for that in-space Raptor relight. And then we are it's already actually looks fairly close to entry attitude.
Yeah, true.
But we
It
might see
probably
it.
is sunlight by now.
Yep.
Maybe.
Yep. I don't think it's in sunlight quite yet. We should see that sunlight. We should see orbital sunrise fairly soon, but usually I believe on the last flight that was somewhere during the during entry, and they're
Mhm.
still fairly high up. They're still 180 kilometers in
Yeah,
altitude.
yeah. Good point. Those spotlights are just they're misleading me very much.
Yeah. I think we may be seeing it transition from those spotlights to the sun. Now, CC, where would it land? It is going to be landing out in the Indian Ocean, about, what do you say, about 5,000 kilometers off the coast of
Yeah,
Australia?
yeah, around about that. It's about 2 days journey. If and SpaceX is actually got a ship out there, and they have buoys with cameras and Starlinks, so we should get live images of Starship as it comes back in. But yes, it's off the coast of Western Australia, so it's much closer to myself than it is to you guys at the moment. And yeah, because I'm coming to you live from Australia, of course. If you couldn't tell by the accent.
I don't know if you saw it, but we just saw a flash of lightning down off the tail of the booster. You
No,
can actually clearly
I
see
missed it.
a flash of lightning down there. And there it is again. There's another one.
Oh yes,
So,
it's gone
yeah.
over the Indian Ocean.
Okay, so those lights are actually the Starlinks. Wow, look at that.
Wow.
That's just unbelievable. We've got fishing ships, Starlink satellites flying over storms. This is like, we haven't even hit entry yet, and this flight is already like an all-timer. I'm blown away.
Oh, wow. This is nuts. Absolutely nuts.
It's hard to wrap your head around. I'm having trouble wrapping my head around it in real time.
Yeah.
Now again, we should in about 5 or 6 minutes we should be seeing the in-space Raptor relight demo. We have seen Starship is now kind of rolled belly up, so that heat shield is kind of facing up away from I believe facing up away from the planet, out toward space. So we are going to see SpaceX will attempt to light one of those sea-level Raptor engines in space here. That was an objective for the previous flight, that because of a propellant leak that we believe to be associated with the Raptor vacuum engine failure early in flight, they weren't able to complete. They have done it in previous flights of ship V1 and V2, and so that is going to be an important milestone, because once it gets up in that suborbital trajectory, once it gets into an actual orbit, you need to be able to relight that engine to be able to bring the ship back down, or at least bring it down in a controlled manner.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're testing out for here. And look, it seems like those lights have gone off from the Starlink satellites. It seems like it's plunged it back into a little bit of darkness, but because it's lighter than it was before, it seems like they're going across the sun terminator. But I'm still we're half an hour away from at least a landing at this point.
Yeah, we are starting to see that altitude come down a little bit. We should see
153.
Yeah, we should see entry interface in probably about 15 minutes or so, is when we should start seeing a little bit of that initial heating. Generally at about 130 kilometers is where we start to see those RCS puffs, the gas being emitted from the ship starts to ionize and take on a really a noticeable color. And hello out there to Tom Dune. How's it going, man?
My friend. G'day, Tom. How's it going, mate? Tom June is actually a regular on Aussienaut. We do live streams and things together, and we have an upcoming podcast, believe it or not, called Space Oddities, which will be on Spotify at some point. So yes, that's sorry about mention my little side project, but yeah, myself and Tom June will actually be doing that together along with Jim Cleland. That will be a little bit more loose in the terminology and things like that, where we actually look, we're going to do a whole segment called the dark side of the dram. A dram is a shot of whiskey. So we're going to do an entire segment on that. So enough about that. Back to Starship and launch heaven.
Absolutely. Well, I'll be looking forward to it. So we are, So things are progressing right along. We should see that Raptor relight demo in about 2 minutes. I think I had my numbers mixed up, because we are already starting to see just a hair of ionization.
We are
hair of color from those RCS thrusters. So that's about 150
but we
kilometers.
still haven't had the relight though. Has that happened as yet? I haven't seen the engine.
It is expected at T plus 38 minutes and 50 some seconds. So it should be happening in just that Raptor relight demo should happen in just about a minute or so.
All right, excellent.
And Javi, when is it coming back? It is going to be coming back in about 15 minutes. Actually in about 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
Yeah, about 10 minutes from now, we should see the heating really start to pick up on the vehicle. Now,
and yes,
are they lighting?
If you're joining us sorry, I was just going to say, if you're joining us for the first time, you're coming to the exciting component of the re-entry, which is we actually get to see the re-entry footage and what it looks like for heating on the heat shield. And because previous launches and previous versions of Starship, we've had some spectacular views from SpaceX.
Yeah, amazing views. Are they lighting a vacuum? Are they lighting a vacuum Raptor engine? No. The Raptor relight will actually be one of the 3 sea level engines in the center. And we should be seeing that relight demonstration happen in about 20 or 30 seconds from now.
Oh, look at that image.
Yeah, it's beautiful. This is I love this area of flight where the reaction control gases start to get ionized and you get these kind of waves. Now, an amazing photo there, by the way, from Gavin, one of
Yeah,
our
from
team
Gavin R.
members.
Yeah, absolutely gorgeous photos. So shout out and props to Gav for being there. Sorry, well, us
Now
Aussies,
you're all right. It is.
we call him Gav.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolute shout out to Gav for that photo, because that was a spectacular image of launch. Absolutely so cool to see. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. What's that?
We are waiting to hear, I believe, that is the Raptor relight demo. And shutdown.
Wow.
So that change in the plume, that was the successful startup and shutdown of a sea level Raptor 3 engine on board Starship.
Colors, gorgeous colors. That
Yeah.
was spectacular.
It's hard. It's almost hard to stay focused, just like getting distracted by the pretty lights.
I haven't had my third cup of coffee yet for the morning. It is morning here in Australia, just to remind everyone. So no, I haven't had my third cup of coffee. And yeah, Josh is getting distracted by pretty lights.
So we are just crossing over the T plus 40 minute mark in about 7 minutes, 30 seconds, well, 20 seconds. We should expect to see the heating really start to pick up as Starship hits the top of the atmosphere and begins its reentry over the Indian Ocean. It's always a treat to see. And we can see, again, as we've been mentioning the pretty lights, we can see some early evidence of that happening as those reaction control thruster gases start to get illuminated by the, kind of ionize and turn to just a little bit of plasma as they are fired or dumped overboard. It's just amazing.
Yes, and it has actually restarted its re-entry, Lyra. Yes, it's what's happened is Starship is now orienting itself heat shield first to make sure it's coming into the correct attitude for re-entry. So that way, all the significant heating it's about to go through with atmospheric re-entry is evenly distributed across the heat shield. Because the lights that were on there previously were the Starlink satellites actually taking images of the heat shield before this moment, because that was the piece of data that SpaceX was missing.
Yep, absolutely. Wow, you can really see the reaction control. You can see those plumes really starting to light up now. And, as you mentioned, we are getting closer and closer to entry. As it's venting these gases, we can see instead of just expanding out in all directions, they are kind of getting blown backwards away from the ship. As, even at 122 kilometers in altitude, there is a very small amount of atmosphere that Starship hits. And when you're going that fast, it does provide it does have noticeable effects on gases and even on the vehicle, as we see a little bit of plasma buildup. The first little traces of plasma buildup starting to happen on that heat shield. Thank you for the rose. Thank you for the 2 roses, Andrew Extra. Now, again, we wouldn't expect to see too much heating yet. The sort of most intense part of the reentry we are expecting to happen at about 47 minutes. If you're keeping track of that altitude, we would expect the altitude of about 50 to 70 kilometers. That region is going to be the most intense region of reentry heating. And
Now,
where is this shot from? Well, go ahead.
Sorry, keep going.
I was going to say, where is this shot from? This is SpaceX's views shot live from on board Starship as it cruises through a suborbital path over the Indian Ocean. Oh, okay, the last one. So this view is currently looking. So the view on the right here is looking down from one of the forward flaps, and the view on the left side here is inboard on Starship. So it's actually on the round part, and it is looking at the backside of one of those two rear flaps.
Now, as Starship comes through at 26,745 kilometers per hour, that is roughly just over Mach 25. So it is coming in very hot and very fast. And the whole idea of that is it's now you can see on the right hand image that the image is changing. That is because of the camera on the edge of the flap that is now orienting itself in the right position to actually come in more or less belly first to actually use a lot of the atmospheric drag to slow itself down.
Yep. And we just had the call out that we have a good attitude for entry. That means the ship is pointing the right direction to enter the atmosphere. And as you can see with these
Yes.
the amazing plasma light show that is starting, ship has begun reentry. That's a neat view. I
Oh,
don't think we've seen many views from the engine bay during
ooh.
entry.
No, we haven't.
Wow.
Not
That
during entry.
is no, that's a very interesting view.
That's wild. That's wild.
Now, one of the things we will see is as the entry progresses, we're going to see less and less of that venting from the outside of the ship,
Yep.
as the reaction control thrusters are going to become less effective as it gets into the thicker atmosphere. And we are going to see those flaps start to move as it transitions into aerodynamic control.
And we've just passed the barrier that Starship is no longer in space. It's less than 100 kilometers, which is the Kármán line, which is the international recognized region for space.
Yeah,
All right. So
absolutely.
it's still coming in at over Mach 25, so 26,700 kilometers per hour, and spectacular views from inside the engine bay. So obviously, SpaceX is looking for the same things that we are as fans. They're looking to make sure that those engines are correctly light and they're getting the right information and visuals from the actual engine. So, but the best part about SpaceX is they have a tendency to not only find out all this information for themselves, but also share it with the public at the exact same time.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we are seeing those flaps start to move around a little bit as Starship is gaining aerodynamic control. As the air or plasma that it's flying through gets thicker, the ship is able to control itself and control its attitude through just adjusting the angle on those flaps. And we are really starting to see plasma buildup now on the heat shield, and you can see a nice shockwave coming off of the rear flap and kind of the root of the rear flap there.
That is spectacular images. It's just that shockwave, the beginning of the atmospheric entry reheating. It's beautiful. Sorry.
Now it go no,
Pretty lights.
absolutely. it,
Pretty
it
lights.
it it never
Never
gets
gets
old.
old.
It's amazing to see how much more controlled and how much how much better the heat shield on V3 has fared. In the past, we have seen some considerable erosion, some burn away
Yep.
on the heat shield along the gaps in those flaps, and have even seen some times where that plasma has burned through the heat shield and gotten inside of the flaps, making them heat up and glow and burning away all the steel.
Yes,
But
but
we
still landed successfully despite that. That happened and it burned through, and I was live streaming it through my YouTube channel at the time, and I honestly thought that was the end of that particular version of Starship, and it survived all the way to make a soft landing in the Indian Ocean and then blew up, which was exactly the right point. But at that point, when it did the final burn through, and you could see it quite clearly on the live stream, I thought that was the end of that Starship. No, it wasn't. It wasn't at all. So
yeah.
yes, by comparison, with Starship 12 version 12, yes, Flight 12, not version 12, Flight 12. Yes, that no longer happens, and I don't believe it'll happen with this version here either. Flight
Yeah, and
13.
yep. I think we are we've seen a lot of improvement, and those flaps, as you mentioned, have been a big area of focus. I remember watching it as well and seeing that forward flap hanging on by. I mean, it felt like it was hanging on
By a thread.
by like a literal thread of steel.
Yeah.
It is just absolutely astonishing. Now at this point, we've seen so much improvement on the heat shield in those, specifically in that region where the flaps actually connect to the body. And yeah, we are seeing beautiful, beautiful reentry colors as that plasma continues to increase and heat. Vehicle continues to heat up.
Yeah, but as you can see, that's adopting the right attitude for re-entry. You can tell by the graphic, which is on the right-hand side next to the picture of the world. The Starship is actually coming in on that particular attitude because it's determined that that's the best way for the heat shield to heat up. And then what they're looking for is even distribution of the heat or the plasma across that heat shield to make sure that the heat shield survives. Because remember, and you might recall, that one of the unique abilities of SpaceX is to have rapid reusability. And part of that is actually going through these tests, even though there will be no recovery of hardware or any of the hardware, including the Starlink satellites. The whole aim of this is to learn, fail fast, fail forward from these type of tests. And this is still at the test at the moment. Oh, and again, spectacular. I shouldn't have looked at the screen when I was making that soliloquy, that the whole speech, because I got distracted. Again, look at the plasma coming off the side of Starship.
It is just totally astonishing, and we are starting to see, yeah, really starting to see more of that heating pick up, the all that vapor and stuff coming off the backside of the ship there. That is something we expect to see. Look at the plasma there. Wow.
Oh, wow. Sorry.
Just absolutely incredible.
Yep, engine
Yeah,
first
Starship
added. Yeah, sorry.
Starship is yeah, no, you're all right. Looks like that's actually potentially one of the side vents, because that vent there on the side goes on and off.
Yeah.
And we are seeing, Starship is actually a very good shape to
Really good
survive
shape.
entry like this. Without getting too far into the weeds, the flatter the thing is that you are, flinging through the atmosphere at high speeds, the less that plasma is going to stick to its walls.
Yes.
And the further out that you can put that plasma, the less severe the heating is. Starship is very big. It is, it is round, but that curve is pretty gentle because of its size. Just
That
wow.
left-hand image is that's nuts.
Yeah, it is amazing seeing how the flaps are just like cutting through the plasma.
Sorry.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm forgetting I'm on a live stream. Just oh, look at the image.
Yeah, it's
It's almost right. Looks like it's riding a plasma wave as it's coming in, but it's doing a spectacular job of better than I've ever seen any other Starship launch. This looks very, very clean. It looks very, very like stable and mature type of technology, rather than being the first initial. We were just trying this out to see if it works. This looks like it's almost the complete configuration of Starship.
yeah. That heat shield has been a big topic of discussion,
Oh,
and yeah, there were maybe a few little chips coming off there. We do see that from time to time. Compared to some of the earlier heat shields, I will say we're not seeing nearly as much sparking and,
no.
ablation. And if you actually look at the root there of the rear flap, you can see those tiles just glowing orange as a
Yeah.
good indicator of just how much of the heat is building up here. And we're probably going to see that start happening around that ship catch point that is right next to me here on the right of the frame that we've got.
Yeah. But look at it just riding that plasma wave and the trail out the back. That would make for some spectacular images right over the middle of the Indian Ocean. So again, if anybody's out there on a private vessel and they happen to be taking footage of this, yes, I'd like to see it. Hit us up on social media. X or YouTube or wherever, Launch Heaven, I'm sure we'd all be love to see those images if you manage to capture Starship going over the top of you. Because remember, the Indian Ocean is currently still dark. When it gets to the outside of Australia, which is off the coast of Western Australia, it will be light by that stage. So we should see some spectacular images of Starship as it comes in for its final soft landing. There are buoys out there with Starlink satellites, and there are cameras, as well as a few drones, because SpaceX is looking at gathering as much detail about the heat shield and the heat shield condition after it's gone through this entry regime you're seeing right now.
Absolutely. And as you mentioned, they want, gathering data. Like pretty much every flight in the past, this ship is carrying a few test tiles. I don't know that they're carrying any of the metallic tiles on this flight. However, they do have a number of tiles that have been painted white. And that simulates the heat that we might expect to see if there was a potentially damaged tile. While we see the black coating on the outside of these tiles, because it's an ideal color for just radiating that heat away, on the interior of these tiles, they're actually white. And so if there is some damage to one or more of the tiles where that interior surface is exposed, it's important for SpaceX to study just how a tile would heat up if it doesn't have that black coating.
This is a complete heat shield as well. They haven't left any heat tiles off this time. They could, like they've done in previous missions. Is that something it's a complete heat shield? I just can't remember seeing whether or not they were leaving tiles off this time.
Yeah, I haven't seen either. I haven't heard anything as far as if they did leave tiles off.
Okay.
I know they did in the past, but yeah, this time I haven't heard anything of
Okay.
that nature.
Yeah, all good. It's just that was really wild that when Starship came back on one particular one, I can't recall which one it was, but there was one when it came back, and some of the still images they provided to the general public was it looked like the whole heat shield had been zippered
Yeah.
undone. So I'm not sure if that was from missing tiles or that was because of the heating that they were experienced on reentry. But yeah, it was very much a V shape as the images as it was coming back down to land on the Indian Ocean.
Yeah, I recall that was one of the V2 ships, and
V2.
yeah, that was either flight 9 or flight 10.
Mm.
And you could very clearly see that there were in that flight, you could see clearly that there were some holes, particularly like you said,
Very
in
big
the
hole.
nose section, there was a hole burnt straight through the heat shield. Which, for what it's worth, SpaceX has acknowledged that the previous flight, Flight 12, was the first heat shield that has not suffered any burn throughs.
Oh, excellent.
Now we are continuing to see this entry progressing as ship has just crossed the 60-kilometer mark. We are in the region of what we would call peak heating, where the thermal load on the vehicle is the highest.
Yes.
We are seeing a few of these a few little sparks coming off, but compared to previous flights, this is, even compared to the last flight, it looks very clean.
It is so super clean. I cannot cannot emphasize that enough. How clean this re-entry looks compared to other flights. This is a significant change, and even the heating on the catch point you can see on the top left-hand side, which is now rotating a little bit more. Yeah, you can see that even that looks like it's not going through a significant amount of heating. It is, but it looks extremely clean as compared to other Starship launches.
For what it's worth, we have seen in previous flights where things maybe haven't gone quite as smoothly, we have seen very limited views of the engine bay.
Yes.
Where this flight, they've been repeatedly showing us views inside that engine bay, which, as far as the actual ship goes, that's one of the least protected areas. That is just kind of an open hole on the back of the ship with no heat shield. And so, to my mind, it speaks pretty well of how this entry is going, with the fact that they are continuing to show that. Now, we're not seeing the plasma decrease yet, but we have seen ship cross over the terminator and transition into sunlight.
Yes.
Um,
We can see the
as
cloud
this,
clearly over the Indian Ocean right there. And the
yeah,
Starship is more oriented into a more vertical position to actually capitalize on the amount of drag that the whole ship can produce at this particular point, because they need to become very, very slow. They're only just over 50 kilometers above the ocean, so they've got to slow down quite a lot. This is where it gets into the belly flop maneuver.
Yep, for anyone who remembers the the early days of SN8, SN10, the
Yes.
old hop up and belly flop tests, we can actually see the ship right now is leaning over further and further and getting, it's not in a nose down attitude, but it's gone from pretty much vertical up to leaning further and further into that airstream as we continue to see the plasma fall off. We would say at this point that we've expected the ship has passed through the area of peak heating.
Yes.
Aerodynamic forces are going to ramp up at this point. And for some of the previous flights, that's been the thing that's amazed me, that it survived with the with holes in the heat shield and and fins just barely hanging off. It's not necessarily the heat that gets you, but when your structures are already weakened from all that heat, and then you hit these extreme aerodynamic forces, it can tear a vehicle apart. By against all odds, Starship survived it on a couple of those first entries. And now as it is continuing to enter, we're going to see it move. It's going to nose up and nose down to kind of help increase or decrease how much it's gliding. I remember, I think it was SN8, the first successful really hop test, that it didn't just go up and belly flop flat like I was expecting it to. I very distinctly remember watching it, and it nosed down, and you could see it gliding cross range. And how much glide they're able to get out of ship is just totally crazy. And we have heard the call out on the net that Starship has exited the region of peak heating and external temperatures are falling. So Starship has survived re-entry into Earth's atmosphere, and I got to be real with you, it looks almost unscathed. It's incredible.
Does. Compared to other live streams that we've seen, yes, this looks completely clean. I mean, underneath this, the heat shield, when we get that footage as it lands and lands engine first into the Indian Ocean, yes, that's when we'll actually see, hopefully, what the heat shield looks like. But yeah, if it looks like it's a much better condition in this flight. It's the cleanest one I've seen in all of them, and it looks like that this is the very mature technology that they can now take to market, I guess. But yeah, it's just a booster. That's the only thing that's a minor concern. But that's, as long as Starship is able to survive, the booster is irrelevant. As long as the booster gets Starship to the correct orbit, then what happens to the booster after separation is, it's just the cherry on the cake, or cherry on the ice cream, or whatever that you put your cherry on.
Yeah,
I lost the
absolutely.
plot halfway through that.
No worries. Yeah, it is feeling like a much more mature vehicle that's getting a lot closer to actually deploying payloads. Actually deploying them to orbit. Now a quick thank you to Dylan Harris for the share, Preem, Carlos for the follow, Miyagi, thank you for following. Everyone out there, thank you for the follows, the shares, the roses, the likes, the subscribes. We can't do this without you. We should be seeing Starship landing in just a few minutes here. And as a note as well, we have heard the call out that ship has passed through maximum entry dynamic pressure. So
excellent.
Yep, the highest aerodynamic pressure on ship as it enters has also passed. Ship is through entry. All that's left is the landing.
We can see parts of the discoloration now becoming more apparent. You can see that in the camera with this particular angle. The heat shield has gone through re-entry, and you can see with the marks that it's left on Starship on the side there. There's slight discoloration of the metal as well. It just to give everyone an idea of exactly the temperatures it's experienced on the way through. So I'm not sure why Starship is. That doesn't look right to me. But anyway, what do I know?
They did just call out that it is performing a S-turn.
Right.
So cool. That was one of the things that we saw on the previous flight, is somewhat similar to the shuttles. The Starship is actually performing a high G banking maneuver. Part of this is to help just stress the structures after they've been heated up and make sure that they can hold together. And as evidence of that, we're seeing little pieces of the thermal blankets and the, soft kind of matte colored heat shield there are
Yeah.
starting to be blown away by the aerodynamic forces, by the pretty violent wind, as we see ship is now leveling back out to continue that belly flop. One of the reasons that they do the nest turn like that is not so much for controlling the heating like it was with the shuttle, and more for just being able to control how much range, how far along the entry path Starship is going to be going, so they can control the landing point with a high degree of precision, because they need to, they're going to have to go through orbit, enter the atmosphere, and then they have to hit an incredibly small, and an unbelievably small target to be able to successfully perform that catch.
All right, so we're less than 10 kilometers now, and we're about 500 kilometers per hour. So we're about to go through the flip stage, which means we're going into the soft landing, hopefully in the Indian Ocean.
Yep, we can see ship is performing that belly flop maneuver right now. It is yawing around a little bit as ship is preparing for a planned soft landing and splashdown in the Indian Ocean.
Okay, so we're not.
So
very
they've
far
called the
off.
S-turn. They call the S-turn the swoosh maneuver.
Of course.
Wow, you can really see the discoloration there. How that stainless steel has taken on such incredible colors. Now we see the engine display up. We should see those engines light and the flip maneuver happen in just a moment.
Yep, we're only 1 kilometer until
3 engines.
Yep. 3 engines. Yes. Excellent.
There we go. There's the flip. It should down select to 2 engines, and then I believe it is going to bring it down to 1 for the final landing.
Down to 2.
Down to 2, or maybe it stays on 2.
There's the drone footage on the left-hand side.
Wow.
That heat shield looks okay.
That heat shield, it didn't blow up on splashdown.
No.
Whoa. That's odd.
Hang on.
That's
there's a
odd.
Little bit of fire now, and here we go.
I think that's probably just a release of venting methane off. I didn't expect it to survive the splashdown. It looked to me like it leaned back a little bit.
Yeah.
So it may not have fallen as far.
It's just floating.
Well, now it's definitely on fire now.
Yeah, it's on fire now.
You can see it starting to smoke. That's not just the they probably ruptured some of the propellant systems inside of it.
But that's intact. There's no boom. Where's my boom?
I know. We were expecting a boom. And I'm curious now, and I don't have an answer for this. That was a very soft splashdown. I wonder if they're going to scuttle it and sink it intentionally, or are they going to try to fish it out of the water and bring it home?
I don't think they have the boat there for it. Do they? They have a boat, but there's no.
I mean, I don't believe they have a ship large enough. They're going to have to figure out something, because if it doesn't sink on its own, they're either going to have to.
It's still sitting there. It's still sitting there.
That heat shield toward the nose definitely doesn't look quite as nice as last time, but that may have been by design. Some of it may be, test tiles eroding. Wow, I'm a little baffled.
Nuts. That's nuts. There is a ship in the area to actually control those drones that you saw. Everyone saw when it was like, whoa,
look at that.
Whoa.
Wow, so we can see all of that discoloration that we're seeing is actually just kind of the grout material in between the tiles that has just gotten spread out. Wow.
I've never seen this before. It's just floating there. What the hell?
I can't believe it. I cannot believe what we're seeing right now. This is just unbelievable.
That's a first. I haven't seen that before. And they keep coming back to the fact that it's just casually floating in the water.
I have to think if they've got it here, they might. Oh, and there's the onboard views. The cameras are still running.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I wonder.
So because it's in the Indian Ocean, I hereby claim it on the behalf of the Australians. We want to put that in a museum somewhere. We'll take it. We got you. We're good. You don't need to take it back. We're good.
Unbelievable.
And the images are still coming off the cameras on the flaps.
It's still floating. I mean, it's wow. This is
That's
not what I
unprecedented.
was expecting. Not even close to what I expected.
No.
I thought. I just like
put a couple of straps around it, tow it behind the boat. When you get all your buoys and drones and everything back, bring it back to shore. It's all good.
I mean,
we'll take it.
it is possible they could attach it to. I mean, it's possible that if it doesn't leak too badly, they could attach a few buoys to it. You know, tow it or
I don't think they need to attach anything to it apart from strap it up and
they could just tow it. Yeah.
Because there's pressure. Okay, the reason why it's floating is because there's actual pressure inside those tanks, and it's keeping it like, even though the tanks are empty, there's enough inside that to can keep it buoyant, and as long as it remains intact and it doesn't get any cracks or anything in the actual whole structure, then it will continue to float there.
Yeah, they've made a boat. SpaceX has made a
Starship boat. Well, there's a new feature. But here's the interesting thing. The Pez dispenser and the slot in the side of it is actually facing down.
Yeah. So
that's waterproof?
I guess it has to be reasonably. I'm curious about that because
confused.
We do know that the vehicle has. Oh wow! Look at that. You can see some burn throughs there on the root of the on that belly heat shield and on the root of the flap as well.
Look at the
discoloration. Definitely see some of those tiles have not fared too well.
No.
What an unbelievable view we're getting.
And they just keep cutting across to it. I kind of thought they would wrap it up and that'd be it. Okay, now they've got a new problem. Now they're going to. This is why I heard a long time ago in a galaxy almost far, far away, 12 months ago, that SpaceX was actually doing negotiations with Australia. Maybe this was it. Maybe this was the negotiations. Like, what happens if they land a Starship and nothing happens? It just floats there. Maybe that was it.
Yeah. I mean, as far as I know, there are kind of two options as far as what you do now. One option is you strap it and you tow it and you bring it home, and the other option was their contingency for the booster, where, you know, when they were initially landing the booster off the coast, they SpaceX actually had the Coast Guard on station so that if the booster did not actually rupture and sink, the Coast Guard was going to get out there with their, with some of their higher caliber artillery, and they were going to punch holes in it. I don't expect that to happen with this.
I don't think there's any of the Australian military that's on standby at the moment. I could be wrong, but maybe it's a good strafing bombing run for a couple of our F-35 pilots. We'll take it. On behalf of the Australian government, which I hold no authority. Yeah, we'll have it.
Boy,
look, we'll save you the shipping costs. Look, we'll save you all the shipping costs. It's okay. We'll take it. It's all good. We'll put it somewhere in Western Australia. They'll be happy.
What did we just witness? I'm still just like...
I'm stunned.
I'm blown away. I'm like at a loss. Wow.
Well, okay, all right. Let's go to some of the comments here. Yeah, look, it was absolutely wild. What happened with the booster? The booster actually went into the Gulf and it was a bit of a hard landing. That's from Inland Empire, Cuba. Yes, 101001110. Yeah, wow. Yeah, agree with you. Don't even know what to say with that. Wonder if they did that on purpose with the drone to see the tiles in the body. I would say yes, but I don't think they were Inland Empire, Cuba. I'm not sure they were expecting it to float there for nearly as long as what it did. Because again, we're not sure. Then RLBM2, is it waterproof? Well, it's space-proof, yes. Normally there might be structural integrity issues. There might be cracking in the hull. It could be anything which could provide water ingress and it'll slowly sink. Maybe that's something. Maybe it's the Australian military needs to come out and put holes in it. I don't know. Yeah. I'm not sure why we're even allowed to see this.
I'm not complaining.
No. I'm not complaining either. I'm not complaining. But
yeah,
I've got no words. I've got nothing. Okay.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
beyond any kind of expectations I had. It survived. It was almost one of those moments. It's one of those moments where it almost feels like it kind of reminds me of if you ever saw any of the Virgin Orbit launches, with like they provided so much information and telemetry and like information. It's one of those moments where you're like, am I supposed to be seeing this? Like is this something I'm allowed to see? But oh my gosh.
Again, not complaining.
No, not at all.
Holy hell. And yes, again, I'll reemphasize. Yeah, we'll take it. It's fine. It's all good. We'll have it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's
Absolutely.
only 2 days journey from Australia.
I'm just on the edge of my seat now, just like what happens next? What happens next? Are they gonna bring it home? I'm hoping, here's to hoping that like in a week or two, it just shows up on a barge at like Port Canaveral or out there in Brownsville. I mean, you have to think it's not out of the it's not out of the realm of possibility, but you definitely need some very specialized naval hardware, like almost like a salvaging ship, to be able to get out there and lift it out of the water. Because it's either that or they're just going to have to tow it. Maybe they could.
You'd need to have one of those on standby. And then what you're looking at is to actually retrieve it. Coming to Australia would be one of the closest ports to actually get to. But to have a salvage boat ready to actually retrieve it would be one thing. But to return it to Port Canaveral, that is at least maybe a week or two worth of travel through the ocean to drag it all that way. That's a significant amount of amount of travel for it to do. Yes, it is able to go to space and back, but oceanic travel being dragged behind a boat is a little bit more impossible to do. Just simply because you need to have the right connection points and all that sort of stuff. And, the only place that I can think of immediately, this is just thinking off the top of my head, is around the flaps, where the flaps attach. That would be a secure point, especially if you use straps or strapping or something like that to actually do it. But to get it, I'm not sure who's on standby in this particular eventuality. I'm assuming because we're under ITAR restrictions, saying with all that stuff. I'm assuming the technology agreements that we've gone under as well as a nation, whether or not we get to keep. I joke when I say we get to keep it, but maybe it needs the best way to deal with this is, because it's a security risk, is to scuttle it. But again,
it's not. I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility. That was the plan with the early booster landings. Was if it did not, if the booster didn't blow up and sink on its own, the Coast Guard was going to go out there with one of their larger vessels, and they have some reasonably high powered naval guns that they were going to go and punch holes in it to make sure it sank. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that they scuttle it, but I also am really hoping that they recover it. Another consideration is
I'm hoping they recover it. Yeah.
Another consideration is the salt water.
Yes,
salt water is not nice to steal. It is not nice to electronics and rocket engine components, and ideally to preserve it as best they can, you want to get any kind of hardware, whether it's capsules like Dragon, Orion. Back when JPSS-2 did the lofted demonstration and ULA was was starting to do their early testings for smart reuse, getting it out of the water and getting that salt water rinsed off as quick as possible is, a really
high priority.
important factor. I think the big question that we just don't have an answer to at this point is, did SpaceX expect this? You know, if SpaceX expected it to, land more softly and survive, I would expect that they have a plan. If they didn't think it was going to fall over and not explode, they're probably making some calls right now.
Well, look, the Australian Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, is probably getting a phone call right about now.
Wouldn't
And
shock me.
like, okay, guys, you need to roll something out to destroy this. But we have our own series of F-35s as well. So, and given that it's that far off the coast, it might be literally a strafing run. Give those boys a little bit of practice, the Aussies, a little bit of practice with that. But yeah, I don't, unless of course they actually have the ship they've sent out with all the buoys and for the drones and the coverage and all that sort of stuff for the live stream, unless they have some explosives on board, which is entirely possible as well.
I mean, the ship does have it. The ship does have a flight termination system.
Yeah, that's yes, true.
So it's possible. It is possible that if they still, yeah. Like you said, 101, 010 rather. It is. They do have the flight termination system. That is, those are shaped charges on the vehicle that if something goes wrong, they can punch holes in it. Yeah. So it is possible that if they need to scuttle it and they still have, still have communication and control with the vehicle before the batteries run out. Because if they don't have a plan, they are going to be working against the clock. That they can use those to punch holes in the fuel tank and oxidizer tank. Depending on, but that also depends on where those charges are located and whether those are just breaching the bulkheads. In which case, maybe they breach the bulkheads. Maybe that's energetic enough with the residual fuel and oxygen vapors to get it to blow up. Or maybe you just punch holes in it, but no water can get in, and then it's still floating. I don't know. We are just going to have to stay tuned. And I'm sure people will be out there on Vessel Tracker looking for any naval vessels and any salvage vessels in the area of SpaceX's recovery ship. And yeah, unfortunately, we're just going to have to wait and see what happens next.
SpaceX is very good with all this sort of stuff. We will actually see exactly what they'll do with it. They'll release some sort of images or something to because everybody at the moment would be wildly speculating, just as Frank and I are doing about what will happen. So yeah, in order to make sure that everything is well protected, they'll need to make the necessary moves that they need to make. But yeah, it's one of those moments where I just cannot believe that happened. And now somewhere off the coast of Western Australia, there is a Starship literally just floating there until SpaceX determines what they're going to do with it, which is a wild thing to be speculating at this point. It's just wild.
Yeah, I'm really, again, just kind of at a loss from this one. I don't know what happens next. Oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah, don't forget we're big space nerds, everyone. So we just And if you want to come along to the Launch Heaven and like and subscribe and all that sort of stuff, and you want to add comments to this live stream, please speculate away, because this is one of those moments where even speculation, it doesn't matter how wild it is, you could be accurate, because honestly we don't know, and we don't know what the plans are of one, the Australian government, and two, of SpaceX. So yeah, if you guys want to add in the comments, which I will now go through with a fine-tooth comb and have a good look, because I'm now interested as well to see exactly whose comment will actually match reality when it does eventually happen. So that'd be kind of cool to see. So if anyone wants to go along and speculate wildly, please feel free to do so.
Absolutely. Join in, get to speculating while it's good. Well, and with that, I think it's time for us to wrap up. Yeah, this has always a pleasure. Always an absolute pleasure. This has been
this has been the wildest one yet.
What can you even say? Yeah.
Look,
this has been
It's been an
Go
absolute
ahead.
pleasure, mate. It's as always. Look, if you guys want to come along and like, subscribe, Launch Heaven, please feel free to do so. Same with Aussie if you want to go and check out my channel, I mainly focus on the Australian space industry. So you want to go like, subscribe, all that sort of stuff. You can find me it's similar to Launch Heaven, or exactly the same as Launch Heaven. I'm also on X, YouTube. I'm also on Instagram, like Launch Heaven. So yeah, and TikTok. Although I'm still confused by TikTok and I'm not sure what to post there. But look, guys, if you want to come along and follow Launch Heaven, please feel free to do so. Join as a member if you wish to do so. And just remember that for all you guys, this is you guys actually keep us going. So please remember to follow us on social media and become a member if you can. And look, as always, stay caffeinated.